Welcome to Avita Ed. The software will open to the workbench. There are 3 viewing options: Population, Organism, and Analysis view. To examine the default ancestor organism, click on the Organism view, and then drag and drop the ancestor into the empty workspace. A digital organism in Avita Ed is represented by a series of 50 commands. There are 26 different commands in this language, each represented by a letter of the alphabet. Press play to watch the organism execute its instructions. The default organism is capable of replication only. In this case, the offspring has the exact same code as the parent organism. This setting can be changed by clicking the Flip to Settings arrow and increasing the per site mutation rate. Do this by typing in the box and pressing Enter, or by dragging the arrow down the bar. Click the arrow to return to the viewer, and press play to watch the organism execute its instructions. Random substitution errors were made 10% of the time, and thus the offspring is not identical to the parent organism. These substitution errors are highlighted in green in the offspring's code. Random errors substitute a new command in place of the original command during replication and are the source of variation in a population of digital organisms. This new series of commands differs from the parent organism and may include instructions for performing logic functions that are rewarded with increased computing power in the digital environment. To return to the population view, click on Population under the Viewers panel. To grow a population of digital organisms, drag and drop the default ancestor onto the virtual Petri dish. To change the settings, click the Flip to Settings arrow above the dish. The per site mutation rate determines the likelihood of a random replication error occurring. The world size setting determines the population size limit. For example, a world size of 30 by 30 cells creates a grid with 900 spaces for digital organisms on the virtual Petri dish. Offspring can be placed near their parent in an adjacent cell on the dish or anywhere randomly on the dish. The environmental resources reward digital organisms with increased computing power for executing specific functions. Each resource can be turned on or off by unchecking the boxes. Click the arrow to return to the dish and press play to allow the organism to replicate and a population to grow. The population statistics box gives information about the population size and average fitness, metabolic rate, and gestation time. The default ancestor was capable of reproduction only, but due to random replication errors, its descendants may be capable of performing simple logic functions. In this trial, all rewards were turned on, and thus the organisms that perform these functions are rewarded with increased computing power. Click on the function to highlight the organisms on the dish that are performing that function. Individuals can be viewed by clicking on them on the dish and viewing their information in the organism report. The run can be paused by clicking the pause button below the dish, and individuals can be saved by dragging them to the freezer panel. Choose a name for your workspace, and then a name for your individual organism. The organism can be viewed in the Organism viewer by dragging and dropping into the workspace. Click play to watch the organism execute its code. Return to the population view by clicking on Population under Viewers. Notice that the organism you saved is saved under Organisms. The dish can be saved by clicking the snowflake icon. It will be saved in the freezer under Populated Dishes. Both will be available if you reopen this workspace at a later time. To start a new experiment, click Control Start New Experiment from the pull-down menus at the top. To set up an experiment where two or more organisms compete for space on the grid, drag both organisms into the virtual Petri dish. In the drop-down menu, choose Ancestor Organism. This will distinguish the two populations as different colors. Then click Play to watch the organisms compete for space on the grid. The run can be paused at any time and then restarted. And the dish can be saved by clicking on the snowflake icon. The analysis viewer can be used to compare population statistics of the two demo experiments by dragging and dropping the dishes into the analysis view. More than one variable may be displayed at one time by choosing from the drop-down menu. Return to the population view by choosing Population View. One last thing I want to point out is that you can easily export data to manipulate in a spreadsheet or a text file. Choose File, Export Data, or highlight an organism and File, Export Organism. Organisms can be exported and then opened with a text editor to manipulate their code. Save files that you wish to import with the .aex file extension. You are now ready to start your own experiments in AVITA Ed.